I met her through the Copywriter Club Think Tank Mastermind, and it was like a match made in the stars. So, and we get to fly out together. We get to travel together, like extremely, extremely soon. Soon enough.
I can't wait.
Let's do my crash diet. My grown-up clothes, right?
I'm just packing stretchy things. I've just given up.
I'm like, I have 28 days, or no, I don't have like 23 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can do some magic. Make it
We
work.
absolutely could.
Yeah. So so we have a full gym basically in our house. It's not like a full gym, but we've got a treadmill, we've got a bike, we've got like free weights, we've got, all the things. So I'm like, oh, you mean I actually have to use those? Oh, right.
It's not. They're living sculpture at my house. We were gifted a hand-me-down exercise bike, and that's where all of the bags hang from, and stuffies sit in it, and so it's just a living sculpture at my house.
Well, I was doing the 75 not so hard, which is like 45. It's 75 hards, 2 45-minute workouts a day, one of which has to be outside, and following the eating plan, reading 10 minutes, taking progress photos. Like, most of that's not a big deal, but it keeps coming back to those 2 45-minute workouts a day. And so I was doing the not so hard, because I was like, I can commit to one.
Sure.
And it'll be close. I'll get at least 45 minutes of working out in a day. And I was doing awesome with it. I missed like one day every couple of weeks or so. Then I got a cold. Then I got a cold, and I literally couldn't breathe. And I thought it was COVID, but it was like, clearly it was not COVID. But I couldn't breathe. I wasn't hungry because I had no sense of taste. So there was that. But it was like, no, I can't breathe like sitting down. Like, why would I want to,
Why would you want to exert yourself in that state? No, thank you.
And make myself pass out. Like,
oh, thank you.
So I didn't do that. Yeah, I didn't do so. And then the cat got sick.
Yeah.
It was like with feeding a newborn baby. It was every 2 hours, let's get up and make sure that, he gets some food.
A little syringe. Poor
so, did I tell you what we figured out that he likes to eat now?
What? Besides string?
Besides string. Yes. Oh, so it's crazy. So I was talking to someone. I wasn't talking to the vet about it, but they said their cat had something similar, their friend's cat. And what was it? They said that because their tongues are so raspy, if they're playing with it, it's like that catches on and it drags.
Oh, yeah. They can't help it.
It wasn't like he actually was like woke up one day and he's like,
spaghetti.
It's good stuff. So that makes me feel like this much better about it. But yeah. Oh, so what he likes to eat? Gerber baby food?
Oh, yeah.
The kind that we wouldn't feed our children because it was like the turkey and the chicken and meat stuff that was like really, really insanely like, why would I feed this? That's what the cat likes.
Perfect.
So it's
he gets all the things, or she gets all the things.
Yeah, he. And so, oh good, I let him out. So he's in the kennel at night. He had his last dose of antibiotics today. But the other cat's like, what's this? So now and I don't know because I'm out of baby food now. Because I'm like, all right, you're eating kibble. Let's see how this goes. He's just been getting less and less now that he's eating more food. But the other cat comes and hovers. So he hops on top of the kennel and he waits for me to like wipe off the spoon in the bowl for the other cat. And then he gets the spoon.
Sibling rivalry. Aww.
So yeah, it's like all the reasons that I never feed my animals wet food because they get gosh. I don't know what I'm going to do when they don't have spoons to lick anymore.
They're going to go and carry little signs around the kitten. We want wet food. We want wet food.
So yeah, so long story short, I'm still not on the 75, not so hard. But every week I'm like, I'm going to. And then it's like, oh, so I know tomorrow morning already it's not going to happen because I have a call with someone in Hong Kong. And so that was the time that worked. That wasn't 2 a.m. for one of us.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about that, and then you like beat yourself up and then you isn't it just a vicious cycle?
It is. So then again, sometimes, I don't know, I posted on Facebook last night in my personal page. You may or may not have seen it. it's always a disaster if I pull up the blanket over myself on the couch.
Oh, I saw that. Who are you kidding?
When I get really tired or exhausted, my body gets cold, and the only way I can warm up is to wrap a blanket around. So I was like, Campbell, come here, let's watch Cocomelon. And I woke up and it was 8:15, and my kids were like glued to the TV watching something ridiculous. And I'm like, we should go to bed.
Yeah. This feels like time for bedtime.
It feels like time for bedtime. So I went to bed too. But yeah, anyway. That's what's new in my life. Like we haven't talked for a couple of weeks because it has been crazy. We've both been launching.
Yes.
And there's so much work that goes into it that
it's crazy.
Usually we talk like once a week or so.
At least, yeah.
And like, you alive? Yes.
You good?
You good?
Throw up a smoke signal. You good?
Yeah, let's catch up. Cool, I'm not in a place today. So we've both been launching. And I mean, I kind of did a little bit of a debrief here on Tuesday. Math words days. Time zone math, backwards, reverse. But tell me about your launch. Tell me like because we both did webinars.
Yes.
And you're launching to kind of an ongoing offer.
Yes. And so I love doing consultations in real time. So I accumulate courses like baseball cards. I love them. They're great for me. But the way my brain works best is working one-on-one in real time with creative problem solving. So what my newest offer is a 60-minute laser focused coaching session where we just work on one problem that's getting you stuck from growing in your business. If it's branding, if it's offer development, if it's copy, even if it's positioning. So for the launch, I hosted a little mini hot seat for 10 guests to do some 10-minute coaching, or 4 guests at 10 minutes apiece. And then we just all it's a beautiful hive mind situation where, we're trying to work out problem solving in real time, and everybody in the chat is bringing their expertise and cheering and supportive, and it's an awful lot of fun. So, and that is just like a teeny taste of what it's like to work with me. So I had 4 very gracious guests who had very different things that they brought to the table. So it was offer positioning and trying to figure out what your wow factor is, your X factor, your USP. Frameworks. I love trying to help people define, design, and broadcast their magic. And so it was a really nice way for people to see, so if I work with Nicole, it's a really intimate setting where she's focused on my needs and she can make me feel comfortable, and I can feel okay knowing that I don't have the answers and that we'll work together, and I'll feel like I have good direction. And, I feel like my ideas are solid by the time we are done with that session. And it was Tuesday, and I just checked it. It was so good. I unplugged all day yesterday because it's so demanding. It's so demanding.
So much out of you.
Yeah. And so today I woke up all blinky eyed. I'm like, it's time to get back to work now. Launching is not for the weak, for the faint of heart.
Not for the weak. And I think, people don't realize how much goes into it until they've been through it.
Yep.
And I mean, the first time I was like, I didn't do a webinar launch the first time because I was like, I can't add another layer into this, like promoting 2 things.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I did it this time because it really took things kind of to the next level. But it's a lot. And the second time I didn't do one either because I was like, just want to keep my head above water. And the mistake that I made the second time is I closed the doors to the course like 3 days before we were starting. And that was out of necessity because of Thanksgiving, holiday timing. But it was like Monday hit and I was still
still reeling. Yeah.
Totally reeling, like 1,000-yard stare, even though I shut everything off over the weekend. And so this time was better. But I remember someone came in and they're like, any chance we could start a couple weeks earlier? And I'm like, I could maybe get you access, and sure, why not give everyone access to the first module a little bit earlier, but I can't do calls.
No.
I cannot commit to that because For one, there's always a fair amount of launch where you're flying by the seat of your pants, like, oh, I got to
Yes.
get that done too, or something comes up, or your website crashes like launch. And it was this random glitch. I'm so glad I have this developer team. They're amazing. Because I was like, aha, and they couldn't figure out what happened. Like, it was like, basically there was no, I didn't do anything wrong. They didn't
No.
do anything wrong. It was just this totally random coding glitch. And so they're like, usually when this happens, it's going to happen again. It's just like one of those things that happens to the same people.
Oh
And
my
so they're
goodness.
like, we have you. We've got your back. I think that's what I understood. I'm paraphrasing, but so they're like, we're just going to keep our eyes out for this for you.
Right.
Thank you. Because I wouldn't have known if I hadn't gotten a message on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I knew that it was up the night before.
Yes.
Because I was on it. And so then I'm scrambling to get together a Google sales page
Mm-hmm.
that I can at least send people to.
Right.
It was pretty, no, was it? It was like actually downright hideous. But it was something that had all the information in it, because I still had, like, I couldn't actually get to the Womp Womp page.
Right.
But I still had it up and preloaded from a different screen. So I could just like randomly drop all that copy. And I was like, thank you.
Right.
Thank you for being unable to shut down your computer at night.
Thank you. No boundaries.
Yeah. Well, and this time too, like, so I don't know, you have your clarity catalyst. I'm saying that too many C's for me right now.
Sorry, I'm just a sucker for alliteration. I can't.
Normally I'm there. I'm just clearly like my brain is operating different. I'm still reeling from launch week.
Yes.
But then like I was planning to run the course exactly the way I ran it last time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you helped me come up with snack bar. Like, I knew what it was. I knew exactly what was going to be included. But it was like, well, whatever. And you're like, it's a snack bar. By the way, this is like the sheer genius of Nicole. She's like, well, here's what it is. Like,
what do you think?
Oh, you're right. And I love it. And then someone's like, well, tell me what all is included in snack bar. Give me some examples. And I'm like, deer in the headlights. I'm like, I'm still working this out. I am adding it in as part of this, but my mission in March is to get the first 3 months lined up. Here's when we're going to do it. Here's what we're going to expect. And so I gave this year's Womp Womp people an extra bonus call that I'm throwing in there today. And it was like, as I was sending out the welcome videos, it was like, let's give them a chance to get to know each other, to see their intentions. It's a bigger group than it's been. So I want to make sure that we're not using all that for the first hour. And so I figured at this point, we'll be talking through what days and times work best. And I'll kind of aggregate, look at my schedule, and see. But it's like, I don't know. And I think that's what's really cool about launching this way is you can create as you go.
Yes.
As long as you say, this is what you get. The mechanics of it can shift to fit whatever works best for people. Because I feel like if you plan something too far out, it never goes as planned. I mean, it never goes as planned anyway. So why not just have a loose idea of what you want to do? So tell me about your emails. How did you do your emails? Did you do all of them like way in advance, or were you?
Oh goodness, no. Oh my goodness.
You got to save your pants too.
Yeah, and it was just absolutely bare bones. It was, I'm really, really passionate about building the thing, small t, before you build the thing, big T. And, I just need to know how this process works. And I'm not going to, the concept is your minimum viable product, right? So it's the thing you build before you build. It's the leanest, most complete lean version. What is the minimum amount of effort you have to put into executing something that's functional and powerful to see if it works? So I was not going to dedicate a whole huge long introductory series of emails, and I wasn't going to build a huge funnel for this, because I don't know how it's going to be received. And once I get that information, then I can tailor accordingly, because the most heartbreaking thing is for someone to build this this absolutely gorgeous a web page and a beautifully designed funnel and get all the automation done and spend all this time leveraging your visibility, and then something it's different every time, but something just isn't connecting. And then you're going to have to go back and re-engineer all of that, deconstruct everything you've built, go back,
And you're going to
re-engineer
miss
it.
something every time you re-engineer it.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
there was a legacy bonus in mine that
Yes.
was showing up randomly in the mobile version. And it's like, you know what? Sure, if you found it, you can absolutely have it. I'm not going to tell you no, because that feels weird and slimy to me, and I don't.
Right.
But in the meantime, it's like, how did I miss that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how did I randomly turn it off for everything except mobile? So
Right.
we could chalk it up to a web glitch. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it's just you roll with the punches. And
Right. But Snack Bar wouldn't have happened had you not gone through 2 rounds of this and said, you know what, something in the post-curriculum support.
we could make this stronger.
Yes, that's
And I
exactly right.
think, just like the magic of your program is the live, the seeing things, the whole picture, I think that's the magic of Womp Womp too.
Mm-hmm.
It's the information that you get is good. It's, I mean, I'm
It
biased.
is.
I'm like, I
No,
think it's really
I'm a
good.
graduate. I happily endorse.
Thank you. This was not meant to be like a rah, rah,
This is
rah.
not
I
an
was just like,
affiliate, but I'm
yeah.
super down.
I mean, I think it's really good information. The worksheets are designed, and again, it's like it's a minimalist
Yes.
attempt because people don't need this whole huge built out thing with amazing functionality. That's sometimes a carrot in the top, but sometimes more is just more.
Yes, that's exactly right.
More is more to sort through, more things. And someone said, well, you could do a lesson for every single video. And I'm like, I could, but then what happens when you're trying to go back through and find it? Wouldn't you want the lessons for each module to just be accessible? Like, and that's how I operate. It's like, I just want to be able to see what I want, grab it and go.
Yes.
But I think again, the magic's the community. The magic is those conversations when
Yes.
it's like, oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. And so more of that. And that's how you and I both love showing up.
Right. Right. And then I'm going to reach out to the attendees and get feedback. How was your experience? What could I have done better? How would you describe, this process to, so I can start getting some, not only sticky messaging that informs the next go round, but things that I can improve, like was the time of day appropriate? Was there enough information going in? Was this a process that was so different? Because not a lot of people have experienced hot seat coaching. Was this something that you felt mentally prepared for? Did I do a good job getting you ready for the experience? So all these things I need to know that's going to inform the next go round.
Yeah. Oh, and gosh, call timing is so hard. And that's something I'm looking at too, because it's like, okay, all right, our friends in India are roughly 12 hours different from us. Your central time zone too.
Yep.
So it's like, it's very, very hard to find a time that works for them.
Yes.
And then I've had people in Australia take stuff, and it's like, how can I get it so it's not at 3 a.m. for them,
right? And
it's not midnight for the people in the UK. So yeah, I've been trying to settle into afternoons, but that almost entirely excludes friends like in the India time zones.
Yes.
So it's a struggle. So do you alternate it? Do you offer multiple? I don't know. I don't know.
And that's kind of an elegant solution. And our friend Ash Chow, when she had her webinar for her power framework, she offered 2 seatings. And she's in Australia, so that it reverse benefited us here in the States. So yeah, that's something to definitely consider beforehand, because it's easy for me to flex the one-on-ones. So when I meet with clients in India, I set my meeting times for 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. my time. And when I have clients in Australia, I set my meeting times for 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. my time. But when you're working with a large group, how do you find a happy medium? And can you? You may not be able to.
Excuse me. Yeah, and I have a friend who runs, she runs a podcast, and she runs, basically it's help for web designers. And she also does some group therapy calls as well. And I'm like, I love it. And I show up. I'm not a designer, but I try to show up when I can, because it's just an amazing community of people. Sometimes it's like, you know what, this really isn't relevant for me, I'm going to hop off. But when it is, it's like, or maybe I can offer some insights. But it's at 4 p.m. our time, because it works for the Aussies. It works for it just never works for people. I feel bad. this continent is so diametrically opposed to Central Asia that, I mean, like literally the opposite side of the globe. It's hard to make it so it works for them.
Yeah.
And make it work for everyone else.
Sure.
So I think what she's settled on in her group is like, this is a bad time for everyone. This is not a good time for anyone. So
this is the best, worst time.
It's the best, worst time. It is a great time for almost no one. But what do you do?
Yeah.
And I mean, I relate to that a lot because I'm from Alaska. And so like if people in the East Coast wanted to meet at 10, which is a reasonable hour, it was 6 a.m. my time. And it was like, oh, can we push that to like noon? Because that's 8. But then, you know, there's the added layer. You're a mom too, who does a lot on your own. You got to get those kids to school.
That's right. That's right. And so sometimes I'll tune in.
Brown on leaving them on the curb.
Yeah, no, tuck and roll, kids. Tuck and roll. And sometimes I will join a Zoom conference from my car and just let them know, hey, I'm on the road. You know, I'm leaving my camera off so I don't wrap myself around a tree, but I'm listening. And I'll shift to desktop as soon as I can.
Yeah, well, and then I also have Cam in the backseat sometimes. And, you know, she's 4 for anyone who hasn't met her. You very possibly have. She's hopped into this show a few times. And it's just, you know, it's again, you roll with the punches, but she's fun. And she's cute. And she knows it.
Yes.
And she knows that she can get away with anything while mom's on a call. But it's more complicated in the car because I can't just give her the phone to be like, here, watch Cocomelon on your own time because I'm on the phone.
Here's a little bit of Bluey for you. Let Mama have some peace.
Bluey. I haven't watched Bluey in a while. My kids went through an intense Bluey phase.
I love them.
And we haven't
so much.
It makes me feel like a bad mom though. Sometimes.
Absolutely. Like I cannot be that creative.
All they do is play with their kids. I got them a nugget so that they can like inventive play, but I think Cam's practicing to become like a wide receiver because she'll like toss. It's a stuffed unicorn. It's not there's no ball. It's a stuffed unicorn.
Yeah.
And then she's wearing her unicorn pajamas with the sparkles.
Excellent.
And she'll pop off the couch onto one thing, throw the unicorn to me, and then I have to wait till she jumps to the next nugget, turns around, is like, I'm ready.
Oh my goodness.
This is a great way to get energy out before bedtime.
I was just going to say, let's bottle that and sell it.
Can I bottle her energy period and sell it? She's got this delightful, like, sometimes she gets grumpy, but usually she's like the happiest little thing and you can't bring her down. Like, not that I try to bring her down, of course.
No.
Like, it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, what do you mean?
What?
I don't need socks. It's like, yes, you do. No. And she flounces up the stairs and then slides down the railing. Like,
oh my gosh. She's my spirit animal.
She's something.
I can't wait to meet her.
Oh, well, so tell me more about Clarity Catalyst. When are you offering these sessions? What do they look like? Tell me I know we talked about it in the early stages, but
Right. So it is a process that I'm kind of starting out by application because I want to make sure that I can serve my clients when they're in the right stage of their business. If it's too early, sometimes I don't know that I can serve them best. So people who are, growing, like they're just on the verge of like really expanding their business or they're pivoting. That's a really sweet spot where I can start leveraging some of my experience in product development and branding and kind of help them through those growing pains.
And can we talk a little bit about some of the companies you've worked with to develop products for? I don't think you talk about that enough, and it's so cool.
Well, I came up through the branding boom of the late 90s and early aughts. So I've worked on projects for, look at, you're just like, gimme. Some of my favorite projects I worked with Disney and Warner Brothers and M&M Mars. Those were probably the best known ones. But I also did work for Thomas the Tank Engine and Major League Baseball and NASCAR and Peanuts. And then
I love how you just so casually like throw that out there.
I just, it was work. I mean, it was fantastic work, but it's just, I try not to get overwhelmed by it because, the expectations were the same regardless of what project I was working on. And the process of developing was the same no matter what project I was working on. So, I mean, it's cool. It looks great in my portfolio, and I still have some of my prototype stuff that I worked on from way back in the day, and that's a lot of fun to look at and be like, I designed that. Isn't it pretty
So
cool?
cool.
Yeah. But anyway, so we take that experience, and if I figure that we're a good fit, then it's a 60-minute session where I have a whole list of questions that we fill out beforehand so I can hit the ground running, because it's a very small container and I want to be as efficient as I can be. So I have a lot of information coming in about the state of your business, what you're struggling with, what you've worked on before, get some audience information, give me, as many copy samples as you feel like you need to, get your point across. And then we just are laser focused on working through whatever that problem is. And by the end, I've gotten feedback like, do you live in my head? Like, how did you do that?
In my head?
So can you move into? So it's just a way for me to figure out where all the dots are and then connect them. I'm really good at getting things that seemingly disparate things to fit together, and seeking out patterns and just helping people who take for granted what goes on inside them, and then bring that out as, really leading as one of their strengths. So it's a really fun process.
Now, could someone fill out the form via video instead of sending it via writing?
That is something I'm working on, because I've gotten, I've had people say, you know what, I just can't. If I could fill this out, I'd have all my problems solved. So yeah, so some of it is just getting, general background. Like, I don't need you to diagnose your business. I just need to know, like, who do you talk to? Who do you serve? How do you want them to see you? What are you stuck on? What do you want to stand for in your industry? Where do you feel that you're getting stuck?
I just asked because I remember, like, when we hopped on a call, like, several times, within like 5 minutes of me, I couldn't put it into writing.
Yes.
Ironically, because that's what I do. But it was like, sometimes I have to externally process some of that. And I have to do it with an audience. Like, I can't just talk into a Zoom camera myself, because otherwise it's like, yeah, this is cool. But what's interesting about that is when people hire me, obviously, write website copy and do marketing strategy, they a lot of times can't figure out what they want to say. They know it's up here, and that's the same thing that Womp Womp does. It helps you do.
That's exactly right.
And translate it. But it's like some of my favorite people, their kickoff forms have like 2-word answers, like, get sales. And I'm like, well, that's really cool. That's helpful. That at least gives me a jumping off point. Like, I know where to start our conversation.
Right.
But, I feel like I should be able to do more than 2-word answers. And sometimes I can't when I'm filling a form. And it's interesting to see the process with what that looks like. So
and it's okay that you don't know what you don't know. That's why we're working together.
And I have a problem that Nicole is hopefully going to be helping me solve.
Yay! No, and it's just, how can I hear the words behind the words? Like, get sales, yes, it could mean a bunch of different things, but in context, like, I ask enough questions that I can kind of suss out from the context of it where we're getting stuck, and then we can hit the ground running.
And by the way, like, seriously, Nicole is able to hit the ground running. She's serious when she says that. I sent her my framework and she's like, yeah, no, this isn't it. Probably within like 10 minutes, maybe less, maybe 15, maybe 5. You're like, the bones are right.
Yes.
But where you've been struggling with the visual, there's a reason you've been struggling with that. Here's what it looks like. And I was like, oh. You give an example on your webinar too. It's not a webinar, it's like a master. I don't know. I always call them webinars because that's what it is in my head, because I used to run them for the travel industry for years. Right. And then it was like, it's not really a webinar, but anyway. I love a session that you understand, you attend, that's on the web. That's
it's where it lived. That's right. Yeah. So when let's see. So we had someone come in and are having a hard time defining their X factor, which is like the hardest thing to do because you don't know how to toot your own horn. You know, we're all in this industry, you know, mostly introverts and, you know, fairly shy about our gifts and talents. So, you know, it was just trying to kind of pull out all that good stuff and, you know, help them and reflect it back. That's, you know, my job isn't to show up with the answers. My job is to show up and hear you and reflect back what you're saying to me in a way that is contextual and
like, yeah,
digestible, right?
Or no. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just the conduit, man.
So how can people find you?
I am at Nicole Morton Agency everywhere. And I will have a formal page on my website for Clarity Catalyst coaching. And until then, you can sign up for my newsletter on my website and I will keep you posted.
And that's NicoleMortonAgency.com.
That's correct.
Cool. Well, and I know there's a way to pop up things and sticky notes on the website, on the software, but I haven't spent the time to find it out yet.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Baby steps.
Baby steps. So instead, I will add this to the comments everywhere.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for joining me. I think we could talk for hours.
I know. I'm like 30 minutes. No problem.
Like, I have a feeling those plane rides are going to be a little too short.
They're short anyway. Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you.
Likewise. Thank you for joining me. It's no better way to have my coffee than people. So cool. Well, I will go ahead and end this. And thank you everyone for joining us. And again, I'll pop everything into the comments.
Thank you.
And I think